My guest just brought a dog and it's not on the reservation.
Annette, don't worry about it because it could be a service animal. Disclaimer, Annette and I are clearly not attorneys and we are not giving you legal advice. However, we are aiming to clarify service animals and emotional support animals and how they relate to your short-term rentals so you can remain an empathetic and supportive host. So stay tuned for more details.
Hi, I'm Sarah Karakayan.
And I'm Annette Grant.
And together we are
Thanks for visiting.
We've been hosting for well over a decade, welcomed tens of thousands of guests, and earned thousands of 5-star reviews.
Our portfolio continues to bring in over $1.5 million year over year, and supported not only by the industry's leading brands, but also some of the biggest media outlets.
And we're here to help you with your furnished rental. This is the debate we hear all the time. My space isn't pet friendly, therefore no pets. That is not true. A service animal is different than a pet. An emotional support animal is different than a pet. So just because you've labeled yourself not pet friendly does not mean that a guest cannot bring a service animal to your property.
This is really hard for a lot of people to swallow. I once had a client, so I was managing their short-term rental, and I knew they were not pet friendly, but of course someone came with a service animal and the owner reached out to me like, I told you, we cannot, I am allergic to animals and they use the property as well. And while I understand that, we are legally obligated under the state of Ohio to make sure that we can accommodate. It's just the same way, let me help you with this. It's as if someone shows up in a wheelchair and you don't want, wheels on your hardwood floor. You know what I mean? Like they don't need to announce they're bringing their wheelchair to assist them to navigate their home. It's the same thing as someone who has a service animal needs them to help them with some sort of ability that they need assistance with.
So in our video, we're gonna break down exactly what a service animal is versus an emotional support animal, and then how not only ADA, the American Disabilities Act, and then Airbnb treat said animals.
What the ADA says about service animals. I'm just gonna read it so that I'm not, glossing over it. Definition. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, a service animal is a dog, or in some cases a miniature horse, that has been trained to perform tasks directly related to a person's disability. These are not pets, but essential companions. So our legal obligations under the ADA is that we cannot charge for service animals. And we have to make sure that we see these animals as companions and not as pets because they are not pets. Did I already say we can't charge for them? Because we can't charge for them and you can't deny them. They need these animals in order to get by, to be able to live their lives.
What you can and cannot ask about service animals. So the allowed questions, you can ask two things. Is the service animal required because of a disability? And what work or task has the animal been trained to perform? You cannot ask for medical documentation or proof of the guest's disability, and you cannot require a service animal to wear special tags or certification. So let's dig into why you would even want to ask these specific questions to your guests with a service animal.
Right, because to be clear, if someone shows up to one of our short-term rentals, it is our standard that we actually don't ask and that we assume the best in humans and that they brought this animal because they need to bring the animal. However, if you're like many of the people that we see in these Facebook groups with short-term rental hosts, people get irate. And so we wanted to make this video to enlighten you and to share with you that you can only ask two questions if someone brings a pet and you want to see if they are a service animal or not. And like Annette just stated, what the two questions are, you cannot go above and beyond that. It's none of your business beyond that. Let's get into emotional support animals. Now, emotional support animals, like the name says, offers emotional support to people who are struggling with anxiety, depression, phobias. However, these animals are not trained to perform a specific task and are not protected under the ADA. And as of right now, here is Airbnb's policy, which you should always check this. We'll link to it in the show notes because Airbnb can update these terms and conditions at any time, as we've learned as hosts. But right now it says Airbnb's policy, hosts may charge pet fees or decline emotional support animals in most locations except in jurisdictions like New York or California or where local law requires acceptance of ESAs, emotional support animals. In these areas, hosts cannot charge extra or deny an ESA from staying at their property. So in summation there, if you're in those two states, but you as a host, you should always know what your laws are around ESAs, because not knowing is not an excuse.
Interestingly enough, Airbnb does have behavioral requirements for ESA animals, all right? So it's for the service animals, they don't have that because they are companions, but there are behavioral requirements. And I'm going to read these to you because it gives you, the host, power here. So Airbnb does allow hosts to set rules if an ESA is out of control, not housebroken, or left alone without approval. The animal must also be leashed or tethered in public areas unless under the guest control. And you can see, even in that verbiage there is that huge difference between the emotional support animal and the service animal, who is a companion, because the service animal is most likely not going to be left alone, will be housebroken, is trained much differently than an emotional support animal.
Let's dig into Airbnb's requirements for service animals and ESAs. Airbnb requires that as hosts, we cannot charge for service animals. We can also not deny a service animal. And if you do, there are some serious penalties. When it comes to ESAs, as we mentioned before, Airbnb would allow you to charge a fee in jurisdictions where it's allowed. However, if ESAs are protected by local or state law, you would not be able to perform outside those laws by charging or denying someone their ESA. Outside of these restrictions that we just mentioned for ESAs, hosts can deny an ESA, you can charge for an ESA, and you can also restrict where that ESA can be around your property.
And here's our approach as hosts. You can tell this is a complex, complicated issue, but is it really?
I don't
It
think
really
so.
isn't. It's very black and white. I think people want to make it way more complex, way more complicated than it needs to be. And that's our approach as hosts. Most of our properties are pet friendly. So this is very, very easy for us to approve and to welcome these companions and or ESA animals. So we want to just encourage, per usual, to not let this take up so much mental space and this just like back and forth and what's the turmoil. I don't know. We see so many hosts just really wearing this so heavily where it's really an easy decision. And if it is an ESA or the service animal is a no-brainer. It's required. So I don't even know why you can't think twice about that at all. ESA, maybe there's a little bit more to think about, but we have grouped them in with the service animals.
Yeah, and I really just want you to start, that's what I think our purpose is helping hosts out there, both new and experienced, figure out what they should be focusing on and what they shouldn't be focusing on. And when it comes to someone needing an animal, whether it's for emotional support or to help them with an ability, that we remain respectful and focus on that hospitality aspect. In the rare cases where a guest is trying to get one over on us, and they're not an ESA but claim that they are, or bring a pet without telling us, again, you can ask those two questions that we mentioned above, but honestly, we defer to just assuming that it's probably a service animal because, again, I want to reiterate, and this helps a lot of hosts out there, if it's a service animal, they do not have to tell you because it's not a pet. They don't have to announce they're bringing the service animal with them. So if you see a dog or a miniature pony, a dog is much more common, on your Ring doorbell or what have you, my brain, first of all, I'm not watching my Ring doorbell, my guests check in. And secondarily, I'm assuming that it's a service animal.
And there are times, obviously, as a host, you do have to go with your gut. Sometimes, if someone's bringing in multiple animals and trying to get one over you, there's obviously different scenarios.
Sure.
So this isn't a blanket for everyone. We do have there been guests that have tried to bring in pets? Absolutely yes, but we're talking specifically about service animals and emotional support animals. But again, go with your gut, but make sure those two questions are exactly what you're asking and stay within the boundaries.
I'm a host who markets my property as pet-free. How can I justify this? We get this question a lot. Hosts who are concerned, and sometimes they get a little defensive of part of my whole marketing strategy is that there are no allergens in my house from pets and that we are pet free, so that anyone who has sensitivity is welcome in our home and can be comfortable in our home.
Or they themselves or a family member has an allergy to a pet.
And this is why it's really great, I think, to have in your house rules that, I mean, you can say per Airbnb's non-discrimination policy, you cannot guarantee that there's never been an animal in the home. You just made a great point too, Annette, where like, if you're not the person who built this home from the ground up either, and the home was previously owned by, you have no idea if there were pets in there from before, despite deep cleans and HVAC filter changings. I mean, you cannot guarantee, and honestly, no public space can.
Right.
So I think you can rest easy in that.
And I actually told a guest that once. She was like, I need to know on 100% that there has never been like, and I was like, I absolutely cannot 100% guarantee that, because it was a space that I was renting that multiple people had rented before. Plus, I don't know, maybe one of my guests did bring a service animal. Or not only that, the people that stay in your property, FYI, even though they didn't bring their pet with them, they have their clothes in your property, they have their shoes in their property, they might be hanging their coats in your closet. So it doesn't mean that there isn't any sort of like pet hair, pet dander. As much as we try to clean and get it immaculate, you know, those guests could not have even brought a pet, but had a pet at their home. So that's where I had to kind of defend myself and my property with that guest that wanted me to give them this, I need to know without a shadow of a doubt that there has never been a pet. And I said, I cannot do that. It was very clear in my communication with them. And guess what? They ended up not staying with me, and that is okay. It is okay to lose a reservation by being 100% honest. We're just gonna share, being pet friendly is a major way to increase your revenue. It is one of the most filtered search things on Airbnb. People want to bring their beloved pets with them. That's why we actually welcome pets, and they're part of our guest strategy. We actually have amenities for said pets.
And I can say, maybe you're thinking out there, you're like, right, Annette, and I want to make money. And so if they bring a service animal, that's why I'm triggered to wonder, can this service animal actually be there because it's a service animal and not a pet? And to that I say, yes, it is a highly filtered, great way to get found and to make extra money. But also there are other ways to make money than hounding your guests and asking them the 2 questions that you're allowed to ask them about the service animal, and just to like avoid that whole like liability issue and starting their stay off on that really awkward foot. Just know that there's other ways to make money in your business, and that most people are going to announce they're bringing their pets. You can collect that pet fee. And it's really important, as we summarize this whole video, that you understand what your laws are, not only in your state, but in your local market when it comes to ESAs. And this is why Annette and I always champion having an attorney who understands short-term rentals in your area. They have other clients that they work with, are short-term rental hosts or investors themselves. So you can ask them and get a clear understanding of how ESAs function in your jurisdiction, and just know that service animals are protected under the ADA, and know what that means for your short-term.
So if you want to be ready all the time, you even want to accept all pets, we have a pet-friendly checklist for you. That way you're ready when they arrive. So we're on a roll. We're talking about pets. We're talking about making more money. So continue watching these videos.
And with that, I am Sarah Carricane.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are
Thanks for visiting.